It was dangerous and alarming. A prison uprising, inmates barricading doors and going on a rampage, and it took the SWAT team hours to regain control.
Even though it happened just 3 months ago, the state has kept it under wraps. But tonight, the secret is out. Investigative reporter Larry Barker gives us a front row seat to an anatomy of a riot.
This is a highly unusual and extremely dangerous situation, Larry.
My primary concern here is that there was clearly a breakdown on this day.
35 prisoners took over an entire unit for nearly 3 hours. These things don't just happen.
Don't be deceived by the seemingly quiet activity at the private prison in Hobbs. Early November last year, dinner time. Fast forward just 1 hour, and you become an eyewitness to chaos, a full-blown inmate uprising, a riot.
Officially, the Corrections Department has gone to great lengths to keep the whole Hobbs prison riot under wraps. No public statements, no press conferences, and no news releases.
Prison Director Gary Maciel downplays what happened as no big deal.
This is not a very serious incident. It was something that was able to be handled relatively quickly.
However, internal documents and security video obtained by News 13 tell a different story.
It's an issue of public safety, pure and simple.
Santa Fe attorney Mark Donatelli is an expert on prison operations. He led the public defender's riot defense team following the 1980 state pen uprising. Donatelli reviewed the documentation relating to last November's riot at the Hobbs prison.
By definition, prisons are supposed to keep those inside under control. They lost control of an entire unit with 35 intoxicated prisoners for 3 hours. That's not the way safe prisons are operated.
The Lee County Correctional Facility is a medium security private prison operated by the Florida-based Geo Group. It was November 2nd, 2020, cell block 4A, late afternoon. Correctional officers order inmates to return to their cells for a count. Tensions rise after prisoners refuse repeated directives to lock down.
We're trying to solve the situation, abuse it.
Inmates try unsuccessfully to negotiate with prison staff.
I think that dude up there's drunk.
It's clear some are drunk from a supply of homemade alcohol. Within minutes, prisoners barricade the doors and take control of the cell block.
I'm giving you a directive to lock down. Nobody just wants to get locked down. That's the only thing. You got my word, you're good. Nothing's going to happen to you.
I ain't going in there until you guys are locked down. How are you getting ready?
The prison's riot response team gathers outside. Tear gas canisters are dropped from rooftop ports.
How many have you dropped already, Martin? 4. You have a couple more?
What the hell?
Disperse another round of gas inside.
Inmates neutralize the tear gas using trash cans filled with water and blankets. Gas grenades are moved to the shower area. Armed with homemade weapons, prisoners start fires, destroy sprinkler heads, and furniture.
Let's drop another one. Let's drop another one. Another down.
Go yourself!
What the hell happened?
Lock your door! Secure your door!
A second round of tear gas also proves ineffective. Security forces resort to pepper ball and stinger grenades.
Calm down, calm down.
3 hours into the confrontation, prison staff regained control of the cell block. A few injuries were reported, including one inmate found unconscious in his cell. The Corrections Department launched an investigation with a focus on the Geo Group's handling of the riot.
This incident absolutely could have been prevented.
Alicia Tafoya Lucero is the Department of Corrections Cabinet Secretary.
When it became clear that the inmates were not going to comply with direction of the correctional officers and things started to get out of hand, is that the point where things started to go wrong here?
I think things went wrong long before that. This particular group of people were frustrated and they did not know what was going on, and nobody went and took the time to just talk with them and share with them what was going on in the facility.
Use of force should be a last resort after all confrontation avoidance means are exhausted. That didn't happen in this case. Even the Corrections Department's own investigation determined that they did not adequately exhaust confrontation avoidance before using force.
And there were other failures that night. For example, with only one security camera in the cell block, much of the riot occurred in blind spots, outside camera range. And even though inmates managed to destroy the camera, investigators discovered it had malfunctioned.
The recording mechanism was not functioning properly. So the camera was working in live view, but it wasn't fully working on the recording side.
Oh, that's got to be disconcerting from your perspective, is you have a prison facility that doesn't have a reliable security camera.
So it's definitely disconcerting.
Investigators also questioned the effectiveness of tear gas dropped from the roof to quell the riot. Secretary Tafoya Lucero calls it a design flaw in the prison's construction.
This is a situation where we are not the proprietors of the building. We can make those suggestions to our contractor, but ultimately we cannot force it unless we add language to our contract that specifically addresses those security flaws.
This is not the first riot at a New Mexico GEO Group managed prison. 2 years ago, at the private facility in Clayton, a guard was overpowered and taken hostage. Armed with keys to the cell block, rioting inmates attacked other prisoners and destroyed property. The state later took over management of the Clayton lockup.
Do these things just happen in prisons? I mean, every once in a while, prisoners get upset and they take over a cell block. Is this just sort of the cost of doing business? Your opinion?
Not in well-run, safely staffed prisons it doesn't happen, Larry.
There's always lessons to be learned from a situation, and particularly one where this significant communication breakdown led to what it did on that night.
Larry Barker, KRQE, News 13.
Hobbs prison warden Dwayne Santasteban did not return a phone call for comment. In Santa Fe, lawmakers are considering a bill that would cancel the contracts for all private prisons in New Mexico.